I've been living in Germany for 5 years now, and it has been a journey. I arrived in Germany in September of 2019, and now 5 years later, I have gotten my master's in architectural lighting design. I have lived in 5 cities. I have worked for an engineering and design firm, and I currently work with some of the best minds in the aviation industry, where I work as a cabin lighting designer. It's safe to say that it has been a very rewarding 5 years. But to be honest, at some low points, I was really pissed at the fact that I left my job in Nigeria, where I had a good pay, a car, and an accommodation provided for me by the office, only to come to Germany. I had to start afresh, struggling with advancing my career in the way that I expected. But that's all in the past now, and I want to share with you what this journey so far has been like. So let's start from the beginning. I came to Germany as an international student after my husband, who was my fiancé at the time, convinced me that it was a good idea to move to Germany. I honestly dragged my feet about this. I dragged my feet to writing the exams, putting things together, sending my documents. He practically did everything for me, from putting together my documents, application, everything. Literally dragged me to this country, to be honest. And I'm really grateful that he did so, because if not, I would have still been in Nigeria doing God knows what. My first week as a student was really disorienting for me, because first of all, I arrived school very late because my visa didn't get approved on time. So I arrived school a few weeks after school has already resumed. Now by this time, people have already caught up with a few things. They've already made some friends, they've bonded. People have formed their own clique and stuff like that. I'm not one to form clique, but you know what it is. Here in Germany, once you miss out on that first week of school, the rest of the time in school can just be somewhat, somehow in terms of, building friendships and all. You have to be super intentional in that regard. Anyway, for me, the first week was really overwhelming. I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. At some point, I was like, who sent me? A lot of my classmates seemed super intelligent. They spoke a lot of big words and explained things with so much grammar, and I was like, oh my God, what am I doing here? But over time, I found my place. I began to see that a lot of times these things are just grammar all over the place. If you know what you're doing, you can really put together your thoughts and share it in an articulate manner that makes you look more intelligent than you are. That doesn't mean that these guys are not super intelligent people, but it was really overwhelming for me in the first week. Imagine, I was here studying architectural lighting design, and on my first day in class, I asked my professor, what is a luminaire? Now, a luminaire is the light, the light unit that you have wherever it is in your apartment, anywhere. That's what it's called, a luminaire. Even though locally people would say a lamp or, something like that. But a lamp is the actual small stuff. Oh my God, I'm teaching you guys again. I said I won't be doing this. But I didn't know what that was. And the lecturer kept using the word luminaire, and I'm confused. Every other person knew what they're talking about, but I was lost. Anyway, because it was my first day, after the class, I went to meet her to, know what I'm supposed to do. Because at this time, there was already a project going on, so I needed to know what I was supposed to do, know where I was supposed to go to, things like that. I got to the professor's office and I asked her, what is a luminaire? And she looked at me dumbfounded, like, who is this person? I imagine, that's not what she said, but I just imagined that's what she said. She looked at me so confused, like, what's this person talking about? But she explained what it is. Anyway, I believe that when you ask questions once, you don't have to ask it again. You don't have to look stupid 2 times. So I didn't mind looking stupid for the first time. Now, before this time, when I arrived at the class, she looked at me very surprised the first moment I got into the class. Because at this point, they've never had any black students, so it was a bit surprising for them to see me. They asked me, are you here? I said, yes, I'm for this class. So I think she felt bad with that initial interaction she gave to me. So when I went to her office much later to ask for all of these, she first apologized to say she's really sorry for her initial reaction to seeing me. That honestly, they've never had an African student in their department, so it was really new to her. I was like, okay, that's okay. I don't think she meant it maliciously. So for me, that was okay. The rest of my time in school went smoothly. I was able to interact with all the other students, create projects that we did, although not as closely as most other students were with each other. Like I said before, I was the only black person in the class, so in some level, I felt like I was separate from every other person. Some of the students were really nice. Some of my other international students were really nice and friendly. They extended arms of friendship. They came around from time to time, They were really cool. But I still felt really disconnected from the rest of the class. This is just the way I felt. But I have to say that I met some really fantastic people while in school. I met people from all over the world. I met people from Mexico, from Madrid, from all over the place, and it was really fantastic. Internship. Now, as part of our course program, you had to go for internship in your 3rd semester. This was a great opportunity to get practical knowledge of the theory that we have been taught in school, even though, of course, we did some practical things in school, built things ourselves, built some products ourselves. But this internship was great. I didn't start looking for my internship on time, which is a mistake I made as a student. I should have started searching for my internship place a lot earlier than I did. Anyway, somehow this coincided with the pandemic that happened at the time. Let's call it the big C. And it was just crazy because everyone was not hiring. Some were hiring, of course, but in any case, it was difficult to find internship during that period. Unfortunately for me, I fell sick as well during the same period and I needed to have surgery. So I was slated for a surgery, and after the surgery, I needed to stay home for a couple of weeks, about 8 to 10 weeks. This meant that I couldn't do my internship in my third semester like I planned. Now, even though I was in the recovery process, I still was sending out applications for internship positions in preparation to when I get back to my feet to be able to do this internship. Luckily for me, I got an internship position in Stuttgart. Now, off to my first day at work. This was amazing for me. I got to the office and everyone was really welcoming. The office was a very beautiful office. This was my first time in the office because all of the interactions we had was online. So the interview was online. The whole onboarding process was online. That's the initial onboarding process was online. So my coming to the office, this was my very first time in the office. But I was really, really stoked. I was impressed by how beautiful this office was and how everyone, was just working so efficiently like a very well-oiled machine. Any case, I went to my team, I was introduced to my team, and then we started work for the day. Sometime during the day, my colleague told me, oh, the boss is around now. No, they didn't even say the boss is around. They called him by his number, like, Philip is in the office now, so you'll see him later. I was like, Philip, you call your boss by you call him with your mouth. You say, Philip. You guys have no respect whatsoever. The Nigerian in me just could not understand it, Now, another thing that fascinated me was that when this guy came in, nobody even moved. Nobody was like, oh, a guy is here, things like that. Everyone was just doing what they were doing very casually. I was like, this is unbelievable. This is not what I'm used to. Anyway, I finally got to meet the boss and he was such a fantastic person. In my team, as a lighting team, we were 4 people in my team and it was fantastic. I'm just saying everything was cool, but really, I loved it. It was fantastic. I didn't have any bad experiences. Everyone was nice. People that needed to teach me stuff, they took their time to teach me and explain. People were patient, But the company was largely a German-speaking company, So that was my own struggle. I needed to learn German. I haven't still learned German up until now, which is really terrible. But I was allowed to work in English, so everything I did was in English and I translated to German, which was really cool. They were really patient with me. Now, after my internship, I was then offered a working student position, so I stayed after the internship to continue as a working student up until I graduated. This was another great opportunity for me to continue to explore, this new field of light that I found myself in, and I loved it. Stuttgart was also a very beautiful city. It was a really big, it is a really big city, really, really rich city, but things are super expensive. The cost of living there is crazy. Stuttgart and Munich, every time they're always comparing, they're always competing as to who is the most expensive, which is the most expensive city to live in. Anywho, at the end of my internship position, I couldn't get a full-time work position with this company because there was a colleague who needed to come back from her maternity leave, so there was no space to get an extra staff. Now, this is where the story gets a bit interesting. I was done with my internship now. I moved to Koblenz because by this time, we were already married. We got married also during the pandemic. Don't ask me why we did that, but yes, we did that. It was a beautiful time. We had lots of friends come to help us out. It was amazing because we didn't spend a lot of money for our wedding. In fact, we even had extra money after the wedding because people did everything, almost everything for us. We had our hall for free, food for free, drinks for free. Everything was done for. It was fantastic, but we didn't have pictures. We don't have pictures. We don't have videos. It's so painful because some people would just, I don't want to use bad words. But we couldn't get good pictures. The only pictures we have right now are pictures that we get from friends who took pictures, just random pictures during the day. But the professional pictures that we're supposed to get up until today, I tell you, it's terrible. We couldn't get anything out of it. Anywho, back to our story. Now I'm done with internship and I'm back to Koblenz to be with my husband. And I was really thinking of getting a job within the area where my husband is. This story is just all over the place, but bear with me. Imagine being married and being far away. So we're doing long distance marriage, So even though I was staying in Stuttgart, it was in Koblenz. So we'll always visit each other during the weekends and stuff. It was really, really difficult. Now I was hoping I was going to get a job very close so I would not have to continue doing this whole long distance thing. In any case, I continued applying for job openings and I got 2 offers. First offer was in Wuppertal. Wuppertal is in NRV. It's not super far away from Koblenz. And I got another offer in Stuttgart. Now, the offer I got in Stuttgart, the pay offer was about 3,000 euros brutto. And then I got another offer in Wuppertal, and the pay was 2,500. Oh, I've gone through a lot, my people. I have gone through a lot. I was offered 2,500 euros as a master's graduate. But look at me, super happy that I got a job, and I just was not bothered by how much the money was, what they were offering. I was like, I got a job, it's closer than taking the one in Stuttgart. And I think the one in Stuttgart actually was 3,300 or so, or 3,500. I honestly can't remember what the figure was. But I thought it made more sense to take the one in Wuppertal, because actually I had taken the one in Wuppertal before the one in Stuttgart came up, to be honest. But I still had the opportunity to let the one in Wuppertal go because I had not resumed, and take the one in Stuttgart. But I didn't take it because I felt Wuppertal is closer. I had applied to the one in Stuttgart when I was in Stuttgart. Now the one in Wuppertal was closer. The cost of living in Wuppertal is less. The cost of living in Stuttgart is super high. I felt it would make more sense to stay in Wuppertal. Now I stayed in Wuppertal. Took my job in Wuppertal. We found an apartment in Wuppertal. Then we went to Ausländerbehörde. Ausländerbehörde said, no, we are not going to take this from you. You can't be earning 2,500 euro as your brutto. No. Oh my God. Now, when I got that offer, the catch was, this is your first initial pay. After 6 months, we would upgrade your salary. And after 1 year, we would upgrade your salary. And we're giving you 2 years to learn German. And after 2 years of learning German, when you get to like B2, we would upgrade your salary again. So I'm like, okay, there's some sort of trajectory of growth. So, okay, we're going to make this work. Besides, I felt like this was not a bad place to start, to be honest. I was like, okay, we can do this, and over time we'll grow, and if push comes to shove, we can transition. Now, one thing with my field is, if you're working with a design company, you don't expect to get a lot of money. Design companies don't pay a lot because they don't have a lot of money. So that in my mind was even okay. These guys, I'm not even expecting a lot of money from them in the first place. Then you have those who work with the engineering companies. Engineering companies pay more. Engineering company was where I was doing my internship. There, I was being paid 1,200 as an intern. So they paid more. But if you're working for a manufacturing company, that's where you get good money. That's where you're paid really decent amount of money. Anyway, back to my story of being in Wuppertal. Now, Ausländerbehörde has said, no, we're not going to take this. We're not going to do blah, 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 blah. And I was just going back and forth with these guys. They said, change the job description. We went back, we changed the job description. They said, no, change the role, the title of the role. We went, they changed it. They said, no, it doesn't work. The money is too small. You have a master's degree. You cannot do this, that. Now, during this time, I honestly didn't know that there's a limit that if you're with a bachelor's, this is the minimum that you can earn. If you're with a master's, this is the minimum that you should earn. And then depending on the city that you are, there's a minimum that the city expects from you. I didn't know this at the time. Now, because of all of this, we had to be going back and forth. We had to contact some immigration people, some lawyers, and get, just to understand what the problem really is. Because I got a job. Like, why will you guys not just take this, And then I began to see the reasons why they do this. They don't want you to be underpaid. They don't want you to be taken advantage of, things like that. Now, all of this was going on, and my boss was paying what we had agreed. So I was just using my 18 months, during this time. When you're using 18 months, it doesn't matter what you're earning. But for you to get a proper work visa, that is now not possible for me. In any case, we went on and on and on and on with this for 1 year plus. I was really hoping, at some point the salary will get increased, and I can then use this new contract to, change it. But no, it didn't work. My boss was just doing as if he didn't know what I was talking about. Anytime I come for, let's talk about this review of the salary, he's doing like he doesn't know what he's talking about. And then at this point, I was like, it's not going to work. So let me just start applying for jobs in other places, and just move. Even though we really loved Wuppertal, our place in Wuppertal was really beautiful. The life in Wuppertal was nice. We loved it. It's really cheap. Everything's comfortable. We didn't really have any need to move, to be honest. Now, we started looking for jobs. The hunting for jobs is crazy. Finding jobs in this country is not easy. When people say, oh, there are jobs. My brothers and my sisters, to find job is not easy. It's not easy. People's eyes are seeing shaggy. So if you are opportune to have a job here, you should really, really, really count yourself very lucky. In any case, I got a job offer in Hamburg, and I was really happy. Oh yes, we're moving to Hamburg. This job is really good. The offer was, I think, 45 or 49,000. Yeah, that was offer 49,000 per annum brutto. I was like, oh great, this is not a far cry, but it's much more than what I was earning before. I was earning, I think, about 30,000 per annum. Only for 2 weeks later, these guys called me and said, less than 2 weeks, actually, I think about a week later, they called me to say, oh, sorry, we changed our minds because, blah, 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 blah. We don't want someone who's still far away. We want someone who's already in Hamburg that can just move to Hamburg. That can just start work immediately and not have to move to Hamburg. I was so heartbroken. I've not been so heartbroken in my life. I was so heartbroken. But I know, I always tell myself that everything that happens to me for good. So this has always been my mantra, no matter what the case is. Now, this remained my mantra in this case. My colleague in the office, at the time, that's my previous office, they're always like, you are so strong, you're not even looking bothered, you're always saying it's well, everything is good. I was like, yeah, there's nothing I can do. I trust God and I believe that He's working out something one way or another. By the way, I had a very fantastic colleague in my previous office who was just God sent to me. This woman, when we first arrived Wuppertal, she was the one that gave us every single thing that we needed at first. So our bed, the first things we had in the kitchen, this woman got us stuff for free. She just gave it to us for no charge at all. And she brought these things by herself. She was driving to and fro our apartment to deliver these things for us. It was fantastic. And then during all my period of running up and down with Ausländerbehörde, going here and going there, she was always going with me. She was going with me to the offices to help me speak German. She's like, this guy is, because your German is not good, let me go with you. She doesn't normally drive to the office, but any day I'm supposed to go to the Ausländerbehörde, she would drive so that she would take me there and bring me back. This woman was a godsend to me, honestly. She would write emails on my behalf. She would call them to quarrel, to say, why are they taking so long to get back to me? And all. And she never for one day made me feel like I was stressing her or like this thing, she can't do it anymore. She did this continuously for me from the day I got to that office to the day I left. So sometimes when I meet people who say, oh, Germans are this or that, I'm like, my experience has been totally different. I've met some really fantastic people who God has just brought my way to just make things easy for me. Now back to our story in Hamburg. Now, while I was applying for this job and they've called me to say they're not doing it again, don't worry, leave the job, I'm not giving you this job anymore, I was really heartbroken. I had also applied to another office here in Hamburg as well, but they had already told me, oh no, we can't give you the job because you don't have experience in aviation. And yeah, this was for me already a done and gone deal. Now after these guys told me no, these other guys, these aviation guys, sent me a message like 1 week later to say, hey, do you still want this job? Because the person who we gave the job before to suddenly decided to change their mind and they don't want to take the job again. And I'm like, who does this? Because this company is a company that everybody wants to work for, who does this? Anyhow, I got back to the HR lady to say, of course, I'm still interested if you still want to have me. And then we had further interview process, because we've already had about 3 interview process before this point, before they told me no and no. So we had more interview process, because in total, I had about 5 interview process with these guys. And then, long story short, I was called with an offer to say, okay, this is what we're offering you, this is your brutto, these are your benefits. And when this lady was just saying all the things that I'm entitled to in this company, and I just could not believe it. My mind could not comprehend all of this, because I was really pained by 49,000 brutto that I lost. And this guys just show up with what my mind, I can't even think about it. I'm like, what are you talking about? The lady was even saying, don't worry, we send you all of this in the document. You can go take your time, look at it, and get back to us. And I'm like, look at what? Take my time to look at what are you people talking about? I'm not looking at anything. I agree. I take the job. It was crazy. It was crazy, because the final stage of the interview, when I came to Hamburg to the office directly, for the final stage to meet my boss's boss. At this point, when I got to the place, I was like, oh my God, I couldn't believe that people work here. It was really, really, really amazing. And then these guys called back to say, okay, this is the offer, blah, 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 blah. Oh, Lord. Oh, you see this when I tell you that God is very mindful of you. God is very, very mindful of us. And it has just been from one good news to another. Eventually, I resumed at this office. My probation period was supposed to be for 6 months, but by the 4th month, I was already sent an email to say I had passed my probation. Passing your 6 months probation in 4 months, it was really fantastic. So, so far up until now, this job has been really great. And now I feel like I'm a lot more settled in the job. I'm beginning to find my way, navigate, different aspects of it, and growing as is needed. Now, as a foreigner, one question I get asked a lot is, do you see yourself going back home? And even though this might be a simple question, I always feel uncomfortable about the question. Maybe not uncomfortable, I always feel I'm torn in between answers for this question. And I always say that if my country gets better, if things work better, I will move back to Nigeria. At least this is what I and my husband thinks, that being home is always different, because when you're home, you're not just able to enjoy your culture, enjoy your people, you're also able to enjoy your family. Because being away from your family, it can be heartbreaking when you miss out on very important moments in the lives of your family. So for us, this is the reason why we will want to go back home if it happens. Now, some people have responded. I made a video about this one time, and some people have responded to say, so who's going to fix the country, blah, 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 blah. And I always say, I don't know. I don't know who's going to fix it. I'm not the one who fixed this country, so I don't know. That might sound selfish. I really do hope that things get better in Nigeria, in terms of how our government runs the country, security, all of this. If this happens, a lot of people, I'm sure, would want to go back home. All in all, I'm very grateful for the opportunities this country has been able to afford me, and I'm even more grateful that my husband got me to come to this country, to be able to experience all of this. It's a really beautiful, beautiful experience. We have not got all that we hoped for, but we are definitely not where we used to be. I hope that this video gives you the encouragement that you need. This video was not made to boast or to brag about having a good life. It's just made to encourage you to say, if you're thinking of coming to Germany, this is something you're considering doing, it is worth it. I think it's worth it. It doesn't mean everything will be rosy. There are going to be ups, there are going to be downs, but at the end of the day, in my own experience, I think it has been worth it. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Until next time, do have a fantastic, fantastic day. Bye.